Hey, on this episode of Gun Talk Hunt, we're talking with Matt Johnson of the Gun Talk team. We're talking about gear and gear failures. Welcome in, Gun Talk Hunters. I am your host, KJ, and today is a great day because this is going to be part one of two. Yeah, so part one of two. So, you're going to have to come back next week to hear the second part of this. It's going to be a great conversation with our good buddy and colleague, Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good, running a little ragged, but we're in the new digs, man. We're
Yes.
we're actually up and running here in the new offices, the new studio, the new range.
Yep.
Um, and you didn't have to move one box.
I didn't have to touch the thing because I know better than to come down to Louisiana in June or July.
That is 100% fair.
I will say I learned my lesson though. I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma one year in July,
oh,
and everybody that I came to visit looked at me like, "Why are you here now?" I'm like, "Because I came to visit you." And they're like, "We appreciate it, but why are you here now? This is the worst
yeah.
time."
Yeah, it's just awful. But this Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Silencer Central, Silence Delivered. Make sure you're going and checking them out. But all right, Matt, we're gonna talk about, and usually I'll have this discussion like earlier after the hunting season,
Yeah.
because I think really breaking your gear down and looking and examining everything is probably going to be important.
Yeah.
What? So let's talk about the gear that worked for us best this year. So I'll kind of kick it to you, and maybe you talk about your process of evaluating your gear before we get into the specifics.
Well, it's the term gear for me really is it's Pandora's box, I guess, because what kind of gear do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the gear that I'm wearing? Do you want to talk about the gear that I'm shooting or the
That's
stands? I mean,
okay.
there's just a lot of directions to go with it, right?
Yeah. And I
Um,
get that's a fair point. I think what how do you evaluate your gear after the end? Like, I mean, do you have notes? Do you keep notes? Do you just make a mental note?
it
Because I always find when I make mental notes, next season comes around and I make the same mistakes.
Yeah, I started to really hone in on what were the big things that messed things up for me, or that I remember sitting there and thinking, you know what, I really should have done those. And those I have a little notebook I write down.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I'm evaluating my gear, I kind of go through all the bigger parts of stuff that's on me. And for the most part, that doesn't change a whole lot. Last year was different because as you and I have talked in the past, I have worn a lot of Sitka gear, and I have a lot just because I love the functionality of it and how it fits for anywhere. Because early September, early season here in Minnesota is a lot warmer and can be a lot warmer than when I also like to hunt in late December. But last year, I tried out some gear from Scree and
Yeah.
loved how it fit and feel. And so I really started playing and messing around with just my clothes in that sense. And so last year was a big mental note of, okay, what do I like here? What do I think I could give input to those guys on expanding or not? Um, but then the other one I really took note, and I guess probably the biggest piece that came into play for me was, so we've got about 250, 300 acres that we hunt in southern Minnesota. And a lot of stand sites have been established because I was invited in with these guys
Right.
to hunt about 5, 6 years ago. And so they have years of history of where stands were, what deer movement patterns, stuff like that are. So for me, the biggest piece of gear that I started looking at is my mobile stands in order to put stands for sit and observation.
Right.
Um, and so that's really where I take a look at it. It's like, okay, in the summer, where can we put a stand that we know it's like, okay, this is an old stand. Don't want to fall into that mentality of, well, God, remember that giant I killed here 7 years ago?
Yeah.
7 years ago, but I haven't seen a deer in 6 years from that stand. Okay, so I need to move that stand, right?
Yes. 100%.
All got that stand.
So
So,
what stands are you using currently?
so for my mobile stands, I'm a huge believer in the Lone Wolf Alpha hangs. And and whether that's the Lone Wolf or not brand that you guys use, I also have I have one Hawk helium stand as well. And that's a super tiny set.
Yeah.
And that one literally is it sits down at deer camp. And if I go sit in a stand and I'm like, you know what, tonight I need to get over there, or I want to go sit over
Right.
there, I will grab that one because the thing weighs like nothing and I can put it up within 5 minutes.
Well, I think I mean, they've got the Hawk Helium XL. It's a little bit bigger,
Yep.
platform, but you're really talking about platform sizes and
Correct.
dialing that in. We can, so clothing we can start off with. Like, I think the stand options are great. I've yet to get into the saddle stand hunting. And I know a lot of you guys listening to this are like, you're like, what? How come you haven't? That's like the ultimate, like, stealthy way to hunt, and that's the
Right.
cool way to do it now. That's what all the cool kids are doing. I'm just not cool.
Yep.
I,
That's not for me. I I get it. I'm not cool that way. But the bigger reason, honestly, is I don't have the time to go down and practice and get comfortable with it. Where it's like,
yeah.
for me, I've got two kids that are preteens, teens right now. And so my life is chaotic enough. I don't have enough time just to skip away. So I think I texted you before we got on here. It's like,
Oh yeah.
my buddy came over for my son's birthday last Tuesday. And he looked at me and he goes, "What are you doing on Monday?" And I looked at my wife and I'm like, "I don't think we have anything." He's like, "All," he goes, "I got the day off from work because I want to go down to the property you want in." And she's like, "Yeah." She goes, "I'll get him to football camp." She goes, "We got nothing else going." I'm like, "Sweet." So
So you
sorry I
get,
won't be at work on Monday, but
oh,
it's
dang
like,
it.
there's just a day that popped up end of July that it just kind of works that way. So it's like, I don't really have the time to practice with that stuff. And
Yeah.
you need to practice with something like that because that's a different hunting setup.
Well, I think hanging stands, when you get a new stand in, I really do believe that you should practice before you go out, or go with somebody, who has that experience or who can help
Yep.
you, because there are too many times that I've been in the field and I've hung stands by myself, and I'm not gonna lie, like, you would be terrified to climb into one of my stands because I'm climbing up all different directions and my steps are, 34 inches, like,
Yep.
apart from each other, and I make a route where only I know how to get into it. Like, oh, you got to step on this branch with this foot, and then
Right.
jump over to the other branch.
Yep.
Um, I think it's just as important to set up your tree stands
So
before season.
I agree. We do not set a stand unless there's two of us down there because that way one guy's on the ground and seeing shooting lanes and one guy, each of us climb in the stand to understand which direction should it shoot. And that
Yeah.
just because two perspectives is always better than one.
Well, no, and we're totally getting off on the gear thing. But it's all gear related. I mean,
Yeah.
setting up early season, preseason, evaluating your gear, going up, setting it up, all kind of ties in the same. But yeah, another good aspect of having two guys, maybe three, is shooting lanes and
Mm-hmm.
trimming those shooting lanes, because
Yep.
that's like a headache, because it's inevitable. If I hang a stand by myself, I'm going to miss a shooting lane and go, or
Yep.
miss just a one limb. Just one limb is it's just so frustrating.
It is. And everybody is different. I like to shoot standing up where everybody I hunt with, they all sit. And I just tell them, it's like,
Oh no.
I don't trust myself sitting. I'd rather shoot standing up. And so when you do that, your shooting lane can change. I mean, by almost
Yeah.
18 inches from where they're, for archery, this is now, especially
Right.
where they're shooting versus where I'm shooting. So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Like, I mean, you start it, man. I do the same thing. I'll stand up because I don't trust myself not to fall asleep. And then, I mean, I'm harnessed
Yep.
in. Um, But yeah, but yeah, we're gonna jump in here real quick from a word from our sponsors, just real quick. Um, as always, we are brought to you by. Let me pull up these reads here. We're brought to you by SIG. Do you know SIG has a new SIG Experience Center, the SEC? Brought to you by SIG. It is a 40,000 square foot facility featuring the SIG Sauer flagship retail showroom, state-of-the-art indoor shooting ranges, a high-tech interactive museum depicting the history of SIG Sauer, and a one-of-a-kind educational experience for SIG Sauer products. You've got to check this out because they even have a club there. It's not like the nightclub that you're normally used to going out and seeing, but it's a great place to sit there, relax, maybe have a cigar. Um, but yeah, it's the SIG Experience Center. You can find out more at sigsauer.com/SIG Experience Center. Go check them out. And Silencer Central, Silence Delivered is their motto, and they love to do that because they can get everything shipped to you. Their new eForms process is super easy. So the ATF's eForms process is taking roughly 90 days to get it. No longer are you going to have the long, drawn out wait times that you're used to.
Nice.
This is all changing and it's all good stuff. But you can find out more at silencercentral.com. They're going to ship you the fingerprint kits, they're going to send you everything you need, and they even manage the trust for the life of the trust. So make sure you check them out. All right. I'm going to pause right here. Benjamin, we got something going on with the Zoom. No, there's something popped up. I don't. Hold on, pause. Okay, it's still recording.
Yeah, it still shows recording on my end.
All right, good. Okay, it's still recording, but I took a break right there because I saw it pop up. So, all right. Okay, we're going to just keep going. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right. So Matt Johnson of Team Gun Talk, talking about gear, talking about setups, and what we're evaluating at the end of the year. My evaluation process is it's pretty simple. I'll make a note after every year, and then I go through it. I break everything down. I look at any failure points that I have with gear, and I try to do my best to replace it with or replace it with something new. Doesn't always work out. Like I'll go through all my clothing, especially my rain gear. That's one of the best things that I could. You go through your rain gear, because if you puncture a hole or anything like that, reevaluate it every year and just make a patch or something. That's what I do, as far as clothing's concerned, and then I package it all in systems that I I know work. Like so I'll put all my late season gear, all my cold weather gear into one bin. I'll get it all washed. I'll put it away, stow it away in a good, dry place.
Yeah.
And then I do the same thing for turkey clothes. I do the same with my early season antelope, early season whitetail clothes. Like I section everything out. Like socks, gloves, everything. Every kit has something. So if I just need to grab something and go, that's what works for me, and that's how I kind of section all my clothing out. Matt, what are you doing?
I'm not far off from that either. I've got a small Rubbermaid tote that it's marked with all hats, gloves, and belts. And that's exactly what's in that tote. So I grab that and I know that it could be a camo, it could be blaze orange, it could be heavy, it could be light. And then I've got one for my big game tote, which for me is mostly white, is all whitetail. But I stack it from my base layers down to my heavy layers at the bottom because it's a big tote. And then I've got a separate tote that is all blaze orange and is what's in there. And then I've got a third tote that is turkey season and ground blinds. And so
Yep.
it's all of that in there. So I do the same thing from that standpoint. I do a similar I'm evaluating my gear more so because I'm a minimalist when it comes to clothes. I want to have as little on as I can, but it's also froze me out of a deer stand and missed me a couple deer a few times.
Yeah.
And so I always evaluate that. It's like, okay, what was the day? Did I get too cold? Did I get too hot? And I need to do a better. And what I've ultimately come down to is I need to do a better job of walking in with a jacket in my arm instead of walking in with all my gear on. because
Don't
I
you
like to wear
carry
a
a pack in?
vinyl harness on, and that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah. But you have to have a pack. Just throw it in a pack. At least a
It's,
fleece or
I've
something.
drastically minimized my pack too, because I look at it, it's like, dude, the shed cabin that we're staying in is literally connected to the 300 acres we're hunting on.
Right.
So I don't need everything on me to go to the stand. Whereas when I go up north for gun season, it's like that pack's got to have a little bit more in it because it's a bigger jaunt back to camp, and so I need to have more things there. So that's the other part I've
I
evaluated. Is like, okay, and
so so we can move on to packs. Let's move on to packs and what you're doing. You'll see behind me, just kind of off into this corner. If you're listening, you can't see it, but it's a Kuyu. It's it's like a day pack is all it is. Been really happy with the pack, but I did the same thing, Matt, that you did. As I started trimming down, and I got really efficient where I was almost not carrying a pack. I got down to
yeah,
that level. And then it flipped a switch. I went to FTW Ranch and it changed my mind on carrying a pack. And it's a full pack. But I stuff it with light stuff, like stuff that I'm gonna need.
yeah,
But I've got a big Caldwell bag, like it's like looks like a pillow almost is what it is. But it fills out the bag just in case, and I've had to use it multiple times as an armrest under your chicken wing out there with to fill in those spaces so you can get nice and compressed on the gun,
sure.
and a steadier outfit. But you're hunting a totally different environment than I am. You're up there, you're up north. You're hunting northern whitetails, and so it's all
Yeah.
largely out of stands and tree stands, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've done a few late season. I'll get on the ground because I can get in late season food sources. And when I'm talking late season, I'm talking December 28th, 29th, 30th, or
Yeah,
late. So it's cold, but I'd like to get on the ground then near food sources and play the wind and just tuck in. But I bought a new pack this year. It's the let's see, it's the Lone Wolf backpack is what it is. Uh,
really. I didn't know they made packs. I thought it was
they
all tree
So
stands
the
and
DeQuista boys started coming out with, I just pronounced that wrong, but they've started coming out with packs this year. They've got the backpack and then they've got the mobile hunter, which is more of a fanny pack style.
okay.
Um, I I think I've
Yeah.
mentioned this before, but I am a pack snob in that I evaluate the crap out of them because I love pockets and compartmentalize. Because like I said, I break myself down to like I only need to carry what I want to carry. I really like the backpack that they made, and as soon as I got it, I took it out and I started saying, okay, I want this, and then I
Yeah.
started building it myself because I'm like, if it's not going to work what I want, I'm sending it back. Well,
Oh yeah.
it does do what I want, so I can't wait to get it out.
Man, I just didn't know they were making packs. I mean, that's cool. Um, if their packs are anything like their stands, you'll be super happy with it. I mean,
Yeah, and I mean it does. I've watched if you go and watch the video on him, he does a good job of breaking down why he built it's purpose built in terms of whatever. And I just think sometimes backpack companies don't have the actual purpose built mindset when they go into designing them.
yeah. What
So
what
I'm
I
excited. So,
what I would love to see a company do, for us guys that carry in stands, and Lone Wolf is another example. I would like to see kind of a lightweight internal, almost like an internal frame that can cross over into other backpacks, that has hooks on it, that you can affix a tree stand to, and it's got hooks right on the back side of the frame, and then you put your backpack almost over it, and you can fold your backpack down. That
that's
that
this one does.
it's like that.
Yes.
Oh well, see,
You need to go check it out because what you're talking about, it like I said, I'm really impressed because it's actually built to attach to the flip up seat and hang out underneath my legs instead of on the tree.
oh okay,
And then it's built to carry on the back on the stand as you carry out. So you don't have to put a backpack. So when you backpack the stand in, it can actually
yeah,
attach to the stand and carry it all in as one.
really.
Yeah.
Now See, I'm full of good ideas. Just
right?
someone was quicker on the trigger.
On the trigger. Someone that, yeah.
See,
But
man,
yeah,
they've
it's
done a lot more.
they have.
They really have. I'm kind of cruising the website as we're kind of looking at it, and
Yeah.
man, they've got a backpack strap support system. See, I don't like that. Ah, there's the Wolf Pack backpack can be yours for $2.99. Good gosh, man! But I can't complain. I've bought more crap. Okay, I see what they're doing. Yeah, it's kind of a lot like what I kind of said. They've got a lot of packs. No,
Yeah.
that looks like it's worth the money. I mean, we're gonna have to get your end of the season review on it, but yeah, I mean, it
Yeah,
sounds
I'm
good.
excited to give it a shot.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring it out on Monday because Monday we're putting out trail cameras and trim up some stand locations. So I'll take it with to be able to carry memory cards and cameras and stuff like that, pack it in. So, um, but that's the one piece that I came out of last season. Like I need to find a better pack that is more universal across everything. So
right. Well, I mean, that's man. Mine was boots. I hunted in some Salewas last year, and I'm gonna hunting them again this year. But I just bought a pair of Crispies. And Crispies, I will tell you this much: they are very, they are very, 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 very proud of them. But I bought a pair of the Altitude GTX 8 inchers.
okay,
Um, so far, man, so far they're actually true to fit because the first pair of Crispies I bought, I was really excited about them because they're more of like an off-road, like a trail boot.
yeah,
Um, and was not happy with them, man. I think it was like maybe a GTX or something like that. I was not happy with them. I actually sent them back after the first time I wore them because they had this really annoying uh, creak, and I'm very like sound conscious. If people eat around me, they notice that. Like if they eat loud, I'm very. But I don't like sound. I don't like sound emitting from my clothing or my pack. Like
yeah,
I'll when I'm rucking and stuff, I'm listening for like anything on my pack, like if it's a strap or anything
yeah,
rubbing, because you want to be as quiet as possible. Um,
yeah.
but
See, I'm the same way, and mine's a little different than you. Like, so just for anybody that might be new listening to us, so KJ hunts a lot of Oklahoma, more Western style, open spot and stock. I'm in Minnesota, so it's a lot of tree stands, big woods, field edges, river bottoms, that kind of stuff. Um, my walk into stands are not tremendously long, but I am ultra conscious of the noise just from you can only do so much about your feet walking in,
right.
but I don't need a pack sliding out of my clothes, making whispering noise that is so out of the norm. Um, so it surprises me with you because being in the wide open like that, noise is little for me mentally, it's a little less of a conscious effort because it's so
Oh,
wide open that
dude, no way. Like I'm conscious of two things: sound and wind. I mean, those are my two killers. If
yeah,
especially if you have unnatural sounds,
yeah,
kind of silent footfalls, like you're gonna hear that in the woods. Everyone, you're gonna hear that, but you're not gonna hear a lot of Velcro or a lot of like metal on cloth fabric
yeah,
or anything like that. Like
yeah.
it's weird. And the Crispies that I ordered that I sent back immediately were the Ativas. Um,
Mm,
and but now I'm running but I gave Crispy another chance, and so far they came through.
good.
Another piece of gear, Matt, you probably know about these. That I'm trying this year. I just did my impressions. I sent them back. I haven't got them back yet, but I'm trying sheep feet. Have you heard
Okay.
about that?
I've heard about them. Yeah.
Okay, so they're custom insoles. They are about the price of a boot,
Okay.
but they're custom, and you can get extra heel support. You can get double cushion. But I did impressions for it, so they send you a box, very easy. You have someone help you. So I was like, I had to ask Julie, my wife. I would have to say like, hey, can you come do my impressions for my sheep feet? And she thought it was super weird. Um, but no, we got it done, sent them back, and so here in the next couple of days, I'll get some custom insoles. And the reason why I'm doing that, it's not because crispy insoles or the Salewa insoles are bad. It's just I'm very prone to rolling ankles.
So, I've heard you're not the first one to say that to me either, in terms of it's like, well, not the boots aren't bad. It's like in the world today, I mean, my kids both downhill ski. And as soon as we buy boots, we replace the insoles with custom insoles.
Yeah,
And for shaping to your feet. And nothing against any of these shoe companies, but they're building the insole to their boot, their shoe, their ski boot, or hiking boot, or whatever it is. And they're trying to make it comfy, but they're all working on the sole of the shoe to be
yeah,
comfortable for you. But so many people, if I've learned anything from my wife who's got super high arches, everybody's got different feet. And so I'll tell anybody this, invest in a good set of insoles, even if it's Dr. Scholl's. They've got a
yeah.
whole easy variety to put in there. My daughter puts new soles in all of her baseball or softball cleats because
Man,
it's just the way they do them. So it's not, what you're talking about is not to be taken for granted. It's another one of those little pieces that can be easily overlooked. But again, you can pay sheep feet like that, or
yep.
Dr. Scholl's are not crazy expensive either. And so
They're not,
there's the gamut.
and that's a good point, is that you don't have to go the crazy route and do the custom orthotics.
Right.
But I find the value in them, because man, if I'm on a mountain, or if I'm doing a lot of like uphill stuff, or am I doing long distances with a heavy pack,
Yep.
man, I want a little bit of extra cushion, a little bit of extra support, because
And all
you get out
those,
there.
even all of our upland bird hunter guys out there.
Yeah,
I mean, you walk a lot. Like those boots are made for ankle support and for the soles of the shoe and durability. But it's like, man, put a good set of inside the shoe insoles.
yeah. I mean, super important. I mean, you gotta look out for that.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna table a little bit this discussion. We're gonna be back next week with round 2 of this podcast. And next week we're gonna talk a little bit about failure. We're gonna talk about a little bit about gear failure. We're gonna talk about allowing yourself to fail. Matt, just hang on with us. We're gonna be back next week. But all you gun talk hunters out there, you know the drill. Keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction, and always be on the hunt.